If I could describe the Get My Life tour in one word, it would be vulnerability. Showing up for yourself is so important. Welcome to the Get My Life tour. I'm your host, Lydia T. Blanco. Hey, y'all, and welcome to the Get My Life tour. It is me, your host, Lydia T. Blanco. And as always, you know that I am so excited that you decided to show up for yourself. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to take center stage with me here on the Get My Life tour. It means so much that you would tune in for yourself, of course, right? But also to hear from these incredible women who've come on tour with me. And stay tuned because we have some fellas joining us on tour as well. But I could not be more excited about today's guest because she is a San Francisco native, living in Atlanta, living her best bi-coastal life, inspiring others and helping to elevate the brands, the businesses, and voices of some people who you follow, trust, and you probably even love or stand for them. But her name is Erica Diaz. Erica is the founder of the B Firm PR agency. She is also an author of the book, Faith It Until You Make It. Not fake it, faith it until you make it. And I'm so glad that she is on tour with us and she does so many other things. But I want you to help me welcome her to the Get My Life tour. Erica, welcome.
Thank you so much, Lydia. How are you?
I am well. I am excited. I'm energized. And I'm so glad that you're here.
Yes, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. Now, I didn't do you any justice by rattling off, all of the great things that you do, your ownership, your authorship. But in your own words, who is Erica Diaz?
Well, honestly, I felt like you gave me a phenomenal intro. So thank you so much for that. My mouth was just like, oh, yeah, okay, that is me. But just to piggyback off the great things that you did already say, yes, I am the owner of the B Firm PR. My sister and I actually are business partners. Her name is Ashley Jernigan. We represent clients that are in the hospitality sector, fashion and beauty brands, athletes, and lifestyle brands. And as you mentioned, I am the author of my second book, which is Faith It Until You Make It. It's a book full of inspirational quotes for your everyday life, quotes that have really inspired me along my entrepreneurial journey, and just quotes that have just inspired me even just in life, period. Quotes that I've gotten from like my family members, my grandmother, who was extremely, extremely close to me. She passed away several years back, but quotes that she even, just instilled in me. But the book has really just been a source of faith, inspiration, encouragement, and just really helped me excel to greater heights. And I also am the owner and creative director for Vintage and More 101. It's a online vintage boutique. We sell clothing for the fierce and fearless.
I like that.
Yes. So one of a kind pieces from different time periods, starting back as far back as the 1940s up until the 80s. And I have some really, really unique finds and just I'm really excited about Vintage and More. I've had 2 brick and mortar locations and close those locations down to just solely focus online. So Vintage and More 101 is my other baby passion project.
And we cannot forget Table of 20 either.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. There's so many things that Erica is doing. And this is why I said I could not fully do you justice because number one, it's one thing to just read someone's bio, but of course, when you're speaking about what you're doing with enthusiasm and sharing, it just brings it to life. Now, I think all of what you are doing is so dope, but
Thank
there is just
you.
something, you are welcome. There's something so special about Table of 20. And I think it's because you're setting the table. I love home.
Yeah.
I love creating space and atmosphere, and energy is so important. Tell us about Table of 20.
So with Table of 20, it was really inspired by my grandmother, who I mentioned earlier. She used to throw these really, really beautiful, lavish, dinner parties, and we would have family and close family friends get together. We would dress up. We would have dinner. We would have some libations. We would have dessert. We would, celebrate each other, talk about, what's going on, the real, the good, the bad, just whatever it was. And we would leave it at that table, and we would inspire each other. We would engage. We would connect. And it was a real good vibe. It was electric. No dinner was like the same. My grandmother would have different people from all over. You never knew who would be sitting at the table. And at my grandmother's table, one day it might be the mayor to, the lady who runs a Fortune 500 business, or even just,
Wow.
the neighbor up the street or whatever. But included in that was our family, my mom, my dad, brothers and sisters, aunts, uncles, and things like that. But it was just so heartfelt. It was such a good time. It was just an unforgettable experience. And I remember moving to Atlanta and being invited to, just different events and expos and women empowerment, this and different thing that. And I never really left empowered. Unfortunately, I would go to, some of the events that some of your favorite quote unquote celebrities or influencers or who's who were at. And I just felt like it was very surface level. People wanted to
Yeah.
know my occupation before even asking me my name. And
Okay.
I would get drained, and I remember just thinking about those awesome experiences that I used to have as a child, as a teenager, even in my adulthood, growing up before my grandmother passed away. And I said, you know what? I want to create my own version of that experience. I want to bring
Wow.
people from all different walks of life, no matter what nationality, career background, men and women, and have us talk, have us engage, have us connect. And whatever the energy of the room inspires you to talk about, that's what we're going to talk about. So there's never,
That's
when you come to
good.
my Erica's Table of 20 experiences, that's what I like to call them. It's never a situation to where it's like a program or it's a cue card type thing. I literally just pray over it first. And then I say, God, give me the words to say, give me, the words to impact, inspire, leave it all here. If I end up crying, I cry. If I, laugh, whatever it is, like, just let it come from an authentic place, and I tell people too, who I kind of do highlight at the event. Everybody's actually highlighted, but I sometimes will single out maybe one or two guests and have them really kind of open up and share their journey. But I tell them ahead of time, if the vibe is off, we're off. So come here being prepared to leave it here. Don't come here thinking that it's going to be some surface level conversation, some type of, oh, I'm gonna tell you how I already did this, and like, you have to come here and be ready to be your true authentic self. And so
Yeah.
they're always kind of like, okay, and then when I set the tone with it, I just let that energy just flow. And so like I said, when I say that, come here with that real transparency, that organic vibe, that good energy, I'm very, very serious about that. Thank God I've never had to kick anybody out, but I set the tone with that and let people know that if I don't feel that, I'll cancel it. Like I have no problem
Yeah.
walking away from anything and anyone that is disturbing my peace of what I'm doing with that particular experience. I have no problem, telling them, okay, well, yeah, this actually isn't going to work out, and letting them go about their day, because it's such a personal thing for me that I know what I felt and what I feel when I put it on, and I know what people feel and what their reactions have been, and the stories that I've heard, and the conversations that are talked about. It's such a personal thing that whatever happens in that room is for that room. So that's why it's not even recorded. It's more of a, you get to see like the little highlight reel, but I never record full conversations of what is being said, because it can go from, some personal heavy stuff to, some stuff from whatever they choose to talk about. So, I am very cognizant of that, and really like to make sure that when people are sharing, everybody's present, like being present.
Yes.
Especially even just now in the current times, is so important, and it's always been important to me. So I definitely, want that energy at my Erica's Table of 20 event.
I think that is so beautiful, and it is so special that your grandmother gave that to you, right?
Yeah.
I think about fine china and great conversations, and I'm thinking about that cabinet, right? That cabinet only opens for a very select few people, right? Not everybody gets to experience eating off certain dishes or drinking out of certain cups. And the fact that that was something ingrained in you, and now you're creating space for other women who might not have had similar experiences, right? I can only imagine, everyone has a different background, and so many of us yearn for an upper echelon experience, and to be able to build community with other women and to receive an invitation. Not everyone just gets to sit at your table.
They don't. You can inquire, but you go, through a process. I have a team, along with myself, who, we hand select everybody who gets to attend. So you can inquire. We'll send you a series of, questions, and then we, kind of lead with, like I said, the power of discernment. I don't know every person who gets a seat at the table. I don't know them personally, or even professionally. I just kind of lead with the spirit, and I am able to select the 20 that get to sit at the table, and that's how we go.
That is, I'm sure somebody's probably like, okay, let me see, where can I go to get this information? But I love the level of intentionality. It's not about exclusivity primarily, but intentionality.
Yes.
And it's important that we show up that way, and we create space for others that way. I want to talk about your entrepreneurial journey, because you have a number of businesses, and they're not solely focused on you and you positioning yourself to be, a public figure or this it girl or this it woman, right? You are a grown woman, but you are on your way. You're already great in my books, right?
You are as well.
Thank you. But you are really blazing a trail. You're not waiting for anyone to create an opportunity for you. Where did that come from?
Honestly, that came from my mother, my grandmother, my great grandmother, my grandfather, my dad, my sisters, us, seeing that in my mom and dad and grandparents and great grandparents, just their hard work, that determination, that focus, and them putting their minds to things and really just executing them. They weren't like big talkers on what they were going to do. They did it. And then they would, bring my brother and sister and I along, like, and this is what we're doing, And so it was kind of like, oh, okay, well, if you could do that, I definitely can do this, And so for me,
I like that.
It was more so like, who's going to stop me? I had that kind of attitude. So it was like, if not me, then who? You know, like, why can't I? And
Yes.
so, you know, I've had a job, honestly, since I was 11. Like, I was that cookie girl selling homemade cookies. I was never a Girl Scout. I was selling, my mom said my cookies were good. So I said, oh, somebody might want to buy them if she thinks that they're good. And I would go door to
Yes.
door and sell cookies, you know, and I was the babysitter and different things like that. But I've always had, drive and motivation and just that confidence in myself to know that the sky wasn't even the limit on the things that I can do if I put my mind to it.
Mm.
So I would speak it, write it down. My mom was a big vision board person. She used to tell us to, you know, put it on your vision board and speak this over yourself. And I would visualize it and speak it over myself and do the necessary work to do it, you know, to make it happen. And
Yes.
I wasn't a quote unquote like timeline, like, oh, it has to be done at this date, but I was on course. Like, I was getting it done and I was checking things off. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this is how it's going to go. You know, the worst thing somebody can say to me is no. And then I continue to maneuver. I wasn't moved in a
Mm.
way of no is the end all, the be all for me. I was like, oh, she said no, or oh, he said no. Let me find somebody else who's going to say yes. And just wanting to create my own opportunities and move forward in that. I've been around women and men who created opportunities for themselves, and to excel, you know, and to win,
Right.
even against, you know, whatever their upbringing was, or, you know, whatever, you know, circumstances, and still kept moving. You know what I'm saying? They didn't let their past or
Right.
whatever happened dictate how they wanted their future to be. You know, they took accountability.
Mm.
So that's really where I got it from. It was learned behavior, you know, and then and you partner that with just me wanting more for my own self. Then I felt like I was unstoppable, you know? So that's really where it came from.
Yeah.
It was learned behavior. And then, you know, you pair that with my own hustle and determination and focus for myself and me really wanting it for myself. That's where it came from.
Well said. You also said two poignant things:
Mm-hmm.
visualization and
Mm-hmm.
doing. Those are
Yeah.
major. Sometimes we have so much going on, it is impossible to just
Mm-hmm.
sit down and visualize, envision, take the time to
Mm-hmm.
think and breathe and see
Right.
ourselves where we want
Right.
to be. And then we get stuck somewhere along the way and we
Right.
stop doing,
Right.
right? Execution is no longer a priority because we're so
Right.
caught up where we are. You are someone who hasn't let anything get in their way. And you said you were encouraged and motivated and you wanted
Mm-hmm.
more. I have to ask, you know, was there anything that ever that tried to slow you down, and how did you push past it? You didn't
Mm-hmm.
stop, but how did you push
Mm-hmm.
past it?
I'll tell this story, and I'll tell like the shorter version. But when I was about like 15, I reached out to June Ambrose, who is a amazing, you know, wardrobe stylist, costume designer, to, you know, various amazing people, Jay-Z, Missy Elliott. You know, I reached out to her when I was 15, and I called her out of the clear blue. There was no Instagram, there was no Twitter. She was my MySpace friend or something, you know. Reached out to her, called her office and told her, on my lunch break, you know, while I was in high school, I said, I aspire to be just like you. I said, if you give me a telephone internship, I said, I will come and work for you for free when I graduate high school, you know, no matter where you are in the world. And she was like, you're 15 years old. And I
Wow.
said, yes. And I'm on my lunch break. So we got to make this quick. Like I'm sneaking on somebody's flip phone, you know, no iPhone 11 over here, baby. It was a flip phone, you know, and I'm
Okay.
like, yeah, you know, and I was talking to her and she was encouraging and motivating. And, you know, like I was in high school, and then fast forward, I get in college. She has been giving me this advice for a while, just talking to me maybe like every other month. And, you know, and I'm doing what she tells me to do, like it's Bible. So I have a vision board. June
Mm.
Ambrose is on it. You know, I watch her work. I'm following her in like real life, you know, and then I finally meet her, and I end up interning with her on set for a Missy Elliott video. I'm Really, Really Hot. You know, it was a song called I'm Really, Really Hot, and Brian Barber directed it, and all these amazing people were there, and all this different stuff. And so I've never been starstruck, but when June Ambrose walks out the elevator, I thought I saw God's cousin. I was like, oh my God, I've arrived. Like this is, you know, like this is the person who I've been talking to since I was 15. Like she's like my version of Michelle Obama, but in the fashion world, you know? And I remember being a young girl, 21, maybe 22 at the time, still green, but still thinking like, oh, I'm here. I've made it, you know? And, I remember there was a woman on set who, I thought June Ambrose introduced me to the woman as Missy's mom, but it happened to be another person who was Missy's manager at the time. And it was crazy because that one situation turned into like a situation that I totally, you know, it kind of went left. Like at that time, because I mistakenly called the woman Missy's mom instead of the manager, she ended up kicking me off set. Not June, but the woman had that much power to where she called June's people and was like, yeah, that intern, I don't know who that girl is, but you got to kick her off set. When I boo-hooed, cried, like, mind you, my mom had flew me out there. I didn't have no money to come to LA to, you know, stay at the W and intern for, it was supposed to be like a 3-day internship. I thought, Lydia, my career was over. Okay. Like I was like, oh, I'm done. This lady, you know, hates me. You know, when I say I apologize, I prayed, I met some people on set who, one lady, she happened to be like Eminem's wardrobe stylist. She ended up kind of pumping me back up and getting me back on my game, you know, like Erica, like that, you know, plan might be, delayed, but it's not denied. You know, that's the scripture too in the Bible. But, you know, like she had to remind me of who I was and where I was going and that nobody can, you know, take me out of my blessing that I know God had in store for me, you know? And so of course, with crying and trying to figure things out, I didn't even tell anybody. Honestly, you're the first person that I told the full story to, because I kind of like sometimes skim over that part. But it hurt me so bad. And I thought that for 1 second, I let that fear come in, thinking that my career was going to be over because of one mistake that I made, in thinking that that was her, you know, her mother. And, you know, I kind of beat myself up for a little while and then got myself together, you know, and put back on my big girl panties and said, you know, do what you need to do. And again, my plan was not, God did not shut it down. He said, okay, that happened, but how are you going to move forward? And I end up moving forward and still assisting other amazing wardrobe stylists and working with them and still even seeing June. Like she had totally forgot about that situation, you know, like that didn't, you know, stunt my career. I ended up moving on to style commercials for Haagen-Dazs, Comcast, TiVo commercials, you know, major Dorito commercials and things like that. Comcast. I don't even talk about all those commercials that I've done wardrobe styling for. But again, that one situation, if I would have let that kind of, you know, bubble up and take me off of my game, you know, for a long period of time, I wouldn't have even gone through those awesome experiences that I've completed in my career journey. You know, I wouldn't even be here if I would have let that derail me because of that one person who tried to kick me off set, you know?
You know what? Number one, thank you for sharing. Okay. And secondly, I am so glad that you had that get my life moment at 21, 22, so that it could set you up for all of the other moments that would come. Life continues to happen.
Yes.
And there are so many things that could just stop or that can die in their infancy when we give up on them. Or we think that it's the end, right? But it's really the beginning.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
At 22, you thought it was over. Here you are.
Yes.
The owner, the creator, you know, someone who makes space for other people. How many of us think that it's over at
Girl.
22? I remember thinking I had to have everything
Yes.
figured out by the time I
Yes.
graduated from college. I was like, okay,
Yes.
so I'm gonna have this. Okay, I got to go
Yeah.
back to San Francisco and get X, Y,
Yeah.
and Z in place. And now here I am at 30, and I'm like, okay, look, I need to get this. I need to get X, Y,
Still
and Z in
doing a
place.
phenomenal
You
job.
never. Thank you so much. But life
Life
goes
goes on.
on.
Life goes on.
You have so much life
Yes,
ahead of
yes,
you,
yes,
Erica.
yes. And how about what's so funny is even with that story, how about 10 years later, I end up working on a set that person also was a part of. Do you know, like for the first, I don't want to, like maybe week, I used to tiptoe around set, like, well, I hope she doesn't remember me from when I was 22, But again, God has the final say. God has the final say. And even
Yes.
when I left that particular set, because I didn't feel like it was elevating me mentally, spiritually, emotionally, or even financially, but that mental, spiritual part, all money isn't good money. All opportunities aren't good money. I mean, good, opportunities. Me being on that set was toxic. So when I walked away from that, I remember somebody in their camp saying, so what are you going to do now? And I said, you really don't know whose child of God I am. Like you really don't. And that's when other things, like I said, other opportunities and career things that I created for myself started to continue to unfold, me speaking it into existence and
Right.
not letting anybody tell me I couldn't do or wasn't going to be. It was like, no, you really don't know who I am. You got to talk to God about that, not me.
You know what just came to me? And this is
No,
probably
what?
so left,
Tell
but
me.
I'm just
Yes.
going to go with it, okay? Remember that moment when Kay Michelle had the table
Yes.
shook on her?
Yes.
Um, I
Hmm.
just, I loved, she said she didn't shook the table, maybe because Kay Michelle just has like a little piece
Mm-hmm.
of my
Mm-hmm.
heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I just think about how many
Hmm.
tables
Hmm.
have been
Hmm.
shaken, and we've had to
Mm-hmm.
stay in the room, sometimes in
Yes.
our seats, and put the pieces
Yep.
back together. Right? We had to make those tables, and you can't be embarrassed by certain, utensils not
Right.
being in the right order. You can't be worried about etiquette or who heard what
Mm-hmm.
dishes fell on the floor. You have to reset
Yeah.
the table. When you said you were tiptoeing around, but then you had to go and, ask somebody, look, do you
Right.
know who I am? I really admire that, and I honor that experience you had, because it speaks to me, and I'm really hoping that it speaks to someone else as well. I'm confident that it will, because we've lived so much,
Yes.
some of us have lived so much of our lives
Yes. Yes.
embarrassed by the
Yes.
last mistake or the
Yes.
last moment
Yes.
of our lives, and there's just so much more that we have to set out to
Yes.
do and
Yes.
accomplish.
Yes. Yeah.
You've taken so
So
many
many.
leaps of faith, right? You
Yes.
stopped tiptoeing around
Yes.
that lady. You started a number of businesses, and you've written this incredible book. I
Thank
love
you.
the
Thank you.
title. You are welcome. Faith it
Yes.
until you make it. Talk to us about what faithing it means. What does that look like, and what has that meant and looked like for you more
So for
specifically?
me, again, when I moved to Atlanta, it was me stepping out on faith. My grandmother had just passed away. We had her funeral like a month later after she passed, just due to bringing all the family together. And the night of her service, I got on the airplane. I said, God, if you get me to Atlanta safely, I'm going to surrender, ride this till the wheels fall off. It's me and you. I'm going to do what you need me to do, how you need me to do it. And, I remember working on that set that I was talking to you about, that set. And a woman said, oh, you're here in Atlanta now. You got to fake it till you make it. And I said, no, I'm going to faith it until I make it. My faith is going to get me where I need to be spiritually, mentally, financially, everything. And I put that quote on my vision board, of course. And just, saying that every day that I would wake up and, going through different trials and tribulations, anything that can happen, it happened. Lost my apartment, was homeless, lived in the extended stay for like a week, stayed on my friend's couch. People didn't know because I would still come out with my armor on, hair fixed, or, my makeup was done, but I was still hurting inside. People didn't know what I was really dealing with.
Right.
And I would, like I said, I would show up and be present for different positions and different opportunities, but nobody knew what I was going through. And that mustard seed of faith, Lydia, when I tell you, girl, like, if it wasn't for that, I don't know where I would be. That was my only thing to fall back on.
Wow.
I wasn't talking like, to my family. I wasn't calling my mom or dad and asking them to help bail me out of this situation. God said, I'm going to take you through this journey, but I need you to solely rely on me, because that's what this is going to require in order for me to take you to the next level of where you want to go. You can't call mom. You can't call your grandma. You can't call your grandfather. You can't call your dad. I need you to solely rely on me, and let me show you what I can do if you listen, if you're obedient. And when I did that, again, it was that faith. That's what it looks like. Where I'm at today is the result of me, of faith, of me being obedient, of me surrendering to what my higher power was telling me to do, and me, letting go and let God. I can only speak on my own experience. Everybody might have something different that they believe in, if it's not, God, but that for me, that's what it was. It was that personal for me, to where I had to surrender. I had to, believe in his word, in his promise to me, and have that faith. And that's really what it looked like. And I was so used to getting my clients book deals and helping them, elevate their business, of course, as a publicist and things like that. And, at one point of time, I was like, I should write a book, and, dealing with that, I guess they call it imposter syndrome, to where you don't feel like you deserve to do that. Like, no, you're behind the scenes. You're supposed to be back in the clouds wearing all black, and I was like,
We got at that, huh?
let me go ahead and listen to what God is telling me, because maybe me saying that quote is going to make some people remember about their faith, or bring them back to the faith, or, it's going to evoke an experience, or whatever the case may be. And so I just started compiling my quotes, started putting those things together. And, I could have called the book anything, but I said, this is something that's going to be a conversational piece. It's a coffee table book, full of inspirational quotes, that have really inspired me. And again, I'm not one of those people who can recite every scripture in the book, but I know him for myself. So I can, again, only speak where I'm at in my journey, so that's
right, that's good.
Yeah.
Girl, I can't recite every verse
that's
either.
what it really looks like for me. That's what my faith looks like for me. I'm a walking, talking advocate of just choosing faith over fear, every day, showing up to be present and be the best version of myself that I can be. Like, how dare I not? Knowing that I've been through so many different things. You know what I'm saying? How dare I not show up and choose faith over fear? Life is still going to happen. Death happened. I was homeless. I went through these different changes. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever, I'm not even looking for any sympathy from any of that. However, I know what got me through that was my faith. And that's what faithing it looks like for me. Me just continuing to faith it until I make it. I haven't even made it to where, my God is going to take me yet, but it's just continuing to walk in my purpose. That's what it looks like for me. How the audacity of us to not.
Girl, can that be the title of your next book? Oh my goodness. Look, and let anyone tuned in try it. Look, okay.
Yep.
We're going to know exactly where you got it from. Right.
Yes. How dare
Erica,
I not? How dare you?
Not?
Like, what?
You
over here breathing.
I hear there is something, right? I hear there is something transformational that happens when you author a book. It has been described to me as giving birth.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
No one is
Yes.
ever ready to become a parent. And, and speaking with my own sister
Yes.
who's authored a book as well, she's like, after you write a book and other people read it, there's just something that happens. It's almost like you have to take on or just really affirm what you have written, but through your livelihood. So I want to ask you, how did writing Faith It Until You Make It change your life?
So again, dealing with that imposter syndrome of like, do I even put this out? Like I have a video of me, opening the box with the first batch of book covers. Now, mind you, the first batch of book covers was not my initial idea as far as like how I really wanted it to look. I kind of let the book publisher tell me like, oh, I think it should be like this. Even though I suggested my idea, I kind of let other people tell me because I was still dealing with the fact of, do I even deserve to be this author? Do I deserve to have that title? You know what I'm saying? Like, wow, and so then how about I get the book and I'm ready. And yes, I have all those emotions that your sister talked about to you. And then, I was instantly changed, like even though at first it didn't look like, how I wanted it to look. And then I didn't even promote it for like, I want to say maybe like the first 6 months of me having it. Like I let it do whatever it was going to do because I was still working my business and working through that process, feeling like, do I really deserve this? Is this something else I want to add on to what I'm, now about to introduce people to me as, like dealing with that, Lydia, like dealing with that struggle of, that issue. Fast forward, I start promoting the book. I start owning it. I start, being confident, and I started really just letting go and letting God again, like remembering like who the freak I am, like Erica, like, girl, you do deserve this. How dare you put this out and not really promote it like you can. And you're a publicist, stop playing, like what?
Okay.
So I get into my groove and I'm doing my thing. And then I say, you know what? Scratch this cover. I'm putting the original cover that I want on it. I'm doing the typewriter font. I'm putting it in a matte cover with black and white writing, like I'm going to do what I really wanted to do the first time so that when I reintroduce it, and I'm going to add a couple of more quotes and things like that. But now I'm really going to give it the full just due. So it's going to get the full love and promotion that it needs. And I'm going to treat it like my newborn baby that I don't have, in real life. So, and I'm going to continue to tell people about, faith and tell them about my journey and hope that it does inspire people. I feel like real is always going to recognize real. People can smell the BS a mile away. You and I even had a conversation about, the power of discernment and those surface level conversations and things like that. And again, I can only speak to what I know and what I've witnessed and experienced for myself. So if you feel it, you feel it. If you don't, you don't. But I'm going to still talk about it because that's what it is for me, and so I own it and I, talk about it confidently, without even thinking about what is somebody going to say or, are they going to like it or not? Because it's mine. It's my baby. It's up to me to nurture it and take care of it and grow it, So that's what it is.
That's right. That is what's up. Like I want to just say something so eloquent, but I'm just like, that's what's up. Okay. Because it just is what it is. And I love how matter of fact you are about it.
Yes.
Some things just have to be that. You like, okay, and so good.
It's going to be okay.
I love that. I'm here for it. Yes. And you know what else comes to mind is that faith without works is dead. You've done the
that definitely
work.
is key.
You are doing Yes, you're doing the work. I mean, there's no way that we can say we are who we are as women who believe
Right.
and encourage others and show up and then just allow what we have been given,
Right.
at to birth, right? Your book, your business, the relationships you have, the way that you show up for others, and just be like, no. I'm like, no, not so much. And I have to share this with other people because it's important for me to let people know, those who inspire and support, right? You, in our relationship, root for me, right? And the way that you're talking about getting through, you are also pushing me, and I'm sure however many other women, towards the helm. That is who you are.
Oh.
And number one, I'm grateful, but I'm also grateful that other people are hearing the way that you show up for yourself and the other ways that you show up for others. You've written this book. That is one of the ways that you speak to people and show up for people. If you hadn't written that book, there'd be people who wouldn't know certain things and understand that, oh, you know what? You can continue to go. Some people probably never even heard fake it until you make it, because they've been faking it. And I'm like, have you arrived? Like,
you're welcome.
Thank you so much. We're not about to do this right now, Lydia. I'm like, I can go back and forth. Like, yes, thank you. No, thank you. Right. Oh my goodness. This is really good. I'm like so energized by this conversation. And you've done all these things. How has authoring this book, how has starting your businesses helped you to show up for yourself and impact the communities that you are a part of?
Me being from Richmond, California, growing up right by St. John's Church on South 52nd, I was like that big sister on the block. And so just staying in contact with other young women and men who I grew up with, or, who were older than me, and supporting them in any way that I can too. Even people who I went to high school with who didn't even like me have inboxed me and asked me for advice, and I still show up because at the end of the day, Lydia, like, I'm merely a vessel, and I feel like, again, how could I not want to help another woman, another man, another person of color, with some advice or with whatever it is that they're asking me. Like, my story is already written. So every day I'm just trying to show up and be the best version of her. That's its own task. So me helping you is not taking nothing away from what God has already written for me, because he already wrote it, So that's just really what I'm doing. How to show up for myself is being obedient, is taking care of myself, is continually being consistent in my craft and learning and growing, teaching myself daily too, how to be a better publicist, how to be a better, friend, how to be a better sister, how to be a better student, just showing up in those ways to continue to better myself. I feel like we're given a one life to live, and it's up to us to live that, to our best ability, so that's just where I'm at with it.
I wasn't going to go here, but I have to go here before we end our conversation. You represent for the Bay Area, for Richmond, for San Francisco. And to me, that is important. Those tuned into the Get My Life tour have heard about me talk about the least touristy areas of the Bay Area. Now, some people think Richmond, California, they think Coach Carter, or some people just think, right?
Or they say Ghost Ride the Whip. I'm like, okay.
Surprised you ain't do it. Okay. But I like to think that you show up the way you do for those who do not feel visible. And personally, I show up the way I do because there are so many people who are overlooked who look like us from where we're from, and they don't know we exist because we do move, you know, and we come back. You come back. So I think that's important to say as well, right? But we move, we go somewhere else looking for different experiences to engage in other parts of the diaspora and just live our lives. Right. So I just want you to just, you know, briefly share why it's important. Now, you already say you give back to people who reach out, and that's important. And you are showing up, you know, as it has been orchestrated and scripted by the Most High. But what else inspires you to show up the way you do, given where you are from?
Because of what you just said about us not being visible. You know, I knew entrepreneurs before it was popular on Instagram. And, you know, my mentor, Curly Miller, who's from Richmond, California, who gave me one of my first opportunities working in her hair salon, you know, like this woman of color who, you know, believed in me enough to give me a chance, you know, who looked like me. And because of her, you know, I am also where I am, you know, where I'm at. It was another woman from the same area that I'm from that took a chance on me, you know, who wasn't in my immediate family, you know, who wasn't blood related to me, you know, who didn't know me from a can of paint. I boldly went into her salon and kind of gave my elevator pitch, and she took a chance. Her giving me a chance continued to motivate me to give my people from my area a chance, because, you know, people think of Richmond, they think all different types of things. Oh, that's the hood, or oh, that's this. And they have these different stigmas and stuff like that. And I want to let people know what can come from Richmond. I can come from Richmond and do these amazing things. And, you know, Datari Turner, who is phenomenal, you know, the producer, director, all these different things. The other guy who did Black Panther, you know, like, these are products from the Bay, you know, and Datari is from Richmond. My other, real Richmond, okay? And
he's real
Itika
Richmond.
Old Wine, who, you know, it owns the first Black-owned, like, floral boutique in LA, but she grew up right around the corner from me in Richmond. Me and her sister were, you know, like, childhood best friends. And, you know, like, we're still family to this day, but, like, these are people who are products of the same environment that I grew up in, and we all pour back into our community in so many different ways, you know, and that is also what inspires me to continue pouring in my city and continue to show up, you know, because I remember and know where I'm from, and I know, you know, that there are quality, hardworking, amazing, phenomenal men and women who are doing dope things that just will never probably go publicized or on Instagram or whatever it is. But, you know, if I need to be their voice to remind people, I will. So that's what it is, you know.
And I'm glad that you
have been instrumental in my growth, and you know, even talking to you and meeting you and me seeing you and just being so proud of you, and then extra proud because you were from the Bay. It was like, girl, whatever you need, I got you. You know, like, it went from, you know,
and that's exactly what you said.
You know, like with people from where we're from, it's like I have to, you know, because I need to let people know how great you are. So I'm going to do it and shout it to the, you know, rooftops if I have to let people know, you know, that we do dope stuff too.
Yes. Yeah. I appreciate that so much. And I appreciate you. And the reason why I just had to, you know, throw this in or add this into the conversation is because so many people look at, you know, women in our industries or on Instagram or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And they have this perception that is not often accurate, and it's most definitely not the full picture, right? Social media is our highlight reels and whatever else we curate them to be. But it is important, right, on this Get My Life tour, that we stop and we go back and we continue to move forward. I'm having this conversation with you from the Bay. you are in Atlanta
Yes.
and you are from these parts, and whoever is tuned in between both coast or internationally, it is important to go back and to speak
Yes.
of where you are from.
Right.
Even if it was not the best place, find that thing that
Mm-hmm.
made it special to you at some point, and then find someone who is there, because there is someone waiting to hear from
Yes.
you or to experience you. So I am
Oh,
so
thank
glad
you.
that you put on for the Bay, because
Yes,
not a
yes.
lot
And
of
my
us
family
come
still
back.
lives there
You are so
too. And I'm,
welcome. I don't know what it
frequently
is.
there. So yes, it's not just I live in Atlanta and don't, pour into my city. Like I'm frequently home, and obviously the cost of living is extremely high. So
Mm-hmm.
what I have over here in Atlanta is
Okay.
different from what I have in the Bay Area, but I definitely am, frequently home. So people know how to, find me there. Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love that. You make yourself available, you give back, and you are helping others
Definitely.
plant seeds no matter where they are. This has been an
Thank you.
incredible
Yes.
conversation. It
Oh,
really has. I'm over here smiling ear to ear. My cheekbones hurt a little bit,
yes,
but that's
yes,
always
yes,
proof of a
yes.
good time, right?
Definitely.
It is. We've gotten to the point of our
Okay.
conversation where it is time for your mic drop moment. I often tell people you can be on a spectrum from
Okay.
Obama out to sexual chocolate.
Okay.
And, coming to
Uh-huh.
America, you choose. You can be right in between either side. We're not going to judge you. This is a judgment free space. But this is where you leave it all on the stage. So take a moment. You've already shared so much with us, but think of that thing that you want to leave us with. And when you are ready,
So
the floor
the
is yours.
moment that I just want to leave with people is remember that no matter where you are in life on your journey, you want to start by starting. You start by starting. And I feel like if prayer becomes a habit, success becomes a lifestyle. If prayer becomes a habit, success becomes a lifestyle. And success is not a monetary thing. It's a, thing within, spiritually, mentally, being successful in that, you growing, you elevating, you starting, that's what success looks like to me. Having peace within. And so I just want to take the time to say that you guys can do any and everything that you put your mind to. And remember, like I said earlier, the sky isn't even the limit on the things that we can do if we put our mind to it.
There you have it.
Thank
Well
you.
said, beautifully said. And you are so welcome. I
No,
am lost for
no.
words, as I should be once you drop the mic. That is what the mic drop moment is for. I always look forward
Mm-hmm.
to what it is that people are going to leave us with. And I'm just so grateful that I get to take it, for myself as well. I'm like, ooh, that's good. Let me put that in my back pocket and carry it with me in my wallet. Erica, there are so many people who want to stay connected with you. Do them a
Yes, you
favor
guys
and
can
tell them how they
definitely
can do
follow
so.
me on my personal Instagram handle at Erica Diaz, the numbers 1010, or my business page, which is the B Firm PR. That's the B, letter B, Firm PR on Instagram. And then, of course, my website is thebfirmpr.com. And yeah, I don't like you sliding in the DMs, but if you have to, go ahead and we'll try to get back to you. And yeah, Instagram, Facebook is the B Firm PR, and Twitter is Fashion 101 ED.
Lovely. And as always, to stay connected with the Get My Life Tour, be sure to follow us on social. Check out the getmylifetour.com and do us a favor. Let us know what you think about this stop on the tour. Let us know in the comment section on Instagram. Of course, review, subscribe, review. Just in case you needed to know which one you should do first. Pick an order. And if you want to stay in touch with me, I am at Lydia T. Blanco on all social platforms, as well as lydiatblanco.com. And I cannot thank you enough, Erica, for showing up
Oh,
the
thank you
way
so
that you
much for
did
having me.
today.
Seriously, I really appreciate it.
It has been real. Until the next stop of the Get My Life tour, I hope that you continue to show up for yourself in ways that you had not before and that you feel equipped to go out there and kill it. It has been real. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.